Hey guys, it's Dr. Sandy again, and today we are going to talk about how to use the scissors, okay? So before we talk about some of the ways to improve scissors skills, I want to just have you look and see, and you can do this with your own scissors, what your hands are doing when you're cutting with scissors. So notice how you're holding the scissors. You can hold it this way. Some people hold them this way, okay? But let's look here, okay? We're trying to stabilize. For young learners, we want to stabilize these two fingers against their palm. What that does is it creates stability in these two fingers and mobility in these three fingers, okay? Some kids have a hard time with that, so I like to introduce my special treasure, okay? This is a puff ball. You can use a light bright peg, a broken crayon, a crumpled up piece of paper, but it's their treasure. And you give it to them right here. Don't drop it like I did. Give it to them and instruct them to hold that treasure near and dear while they're using their scissors, okay? And that way they can have the scissors put here. And while they're cutting, and if they're trying hard to hold, and you can give them a little input at first so that they don't open and drop it, okay? So hold that treasure dear so that they're using these fingers, the pointer, the middle, and the thumb for the mobility. And these two fingers are for stability, okay? So some ways to promote that, this particular movement of scissors are with some toys. So for example, they can use a squirt gun or a child size spray bottle, okay? And look what's happening when I'm holding this spray bottle. These fingers are already having to hold the bottle while these two fingers are manipulating the trigger, okay? It's kind of emulating what the scissors grasp is. Here's another idea, okay? You can use a little toy tongs. You can use kitchen tongs, the little smaller kitchen tongs. This is a homemade tongs, but what you do is you make sure that that treasure is there and they can pick up little items out of a little cup. We can pick up little items out of these little ice cube trays or other trays, or just off the floor, okay? But it's important while they're doing the tongs that they're still holding their treasure, okay? This can also be done with the clothespin, okay? Make sure they hold their treasure dear and they're pinching that clothespin like that or like that to pick up the items and put them back, okay? Okay, so let's talk about some of the types of scissors that we might use in a classroom. I just have an array here. These aren't the exhaustive supply, but so these, are more adult scissors, okay? But you see that most of these scissors have a smaller hole on one side and a larger hole on the other. You might see these a lot in the classroom, the typical Fiskars scissors for the kids. When I'm teaching a kid how to pick up scissors, I try to encourage them to put their thumb through the small hole. Sometimes I hold it up for them, but I encourage them to put their thumb through the small hole. And for young learners, like we talked about, I have them put these two fingers in the top hole and hold their treasure with the pinky and ring finger, okay? A few other options for scissors. These are just playful design scissors. They don't have as small of they don't have a big difference between the finger side and the thumb side. This is a pretty cool scissor because if you look at it, it has this little deal right here that can be turned. So when I squeeze and I just let go without opening it with my muscles, it opens itself, okay? So check it out. It's self-opening. That's a good scissor to have. This particular action of squeezing is easier to develop and is the first thing to develop. And then the opening is harder. So this one gives them the opportunity to practice the cutting without having to learn how to open it. But you have the option then of turning this back. So they have to open and close themselves, okay? Here's another, like a crafty scissor, okay? And for the scissors that have the same hole size, okay? You want to have them put their middle finger through the hole, their thumb through the hole, and their index finger out here as a guide, keeping in mind that they have their treasure that they're holding tight, okay? So that's a few different types of scissors, okay? Okay, so let's talk about cutting, okay, the cutting position. So remember, we're putting our fingers in the holes, putting our treasure there, okay? And we want to keep the position of thumbs up, okay? So it's important to hold the paper with the thumb up on the assistive side, which for me is my left hand, and keep the thumb up on the scissors side. A lot of kids like to do this. So a good thing to do to help them know to keep their thumbs up. Sometimes if they're not averse to this, you can draw a little smiley face or a star on each of their thumbs to remind them to do thumbs up, okay? I can't draw with my left hand. But some kids might, so here's the thumbs up smiley face. Some kids might benefit from a little sticker on their thumbs to help them remember to keep their thumbs up when cutting, okay? Another thing to remember when they're cutting, you want them to keep their cutting hand's arm still. So you can even, have them place it on the table. The hand that's moving the paper should really be the assisting hand, okay? So let's do a little cutting. Kids are going to first learn, and I'm going to put my assistive little spring there so that a new learner doesn't have to open the scissors. But you can help them with a little hand over hand guidance to the assistive hand to place the paper into the scissors so that the scissors are on the line. Having them do it this way promotes them moving their scissors arm, and you're trying to keep that scissors arm still on the table or at their side, okay? So move the paper into the scissors, okay? And they are just squeeze and release, okay? Young kids are going to be first learning to snip, which is just this, okay? They don't learn yet to sustain that cut across paper, okay? So we're just snipping. See how I'm moving the paper with my left hand, and I'm keeping my hand with the scissors still, okay? So now we're assuming that I've progressed beyond and I can open and close the scissors. We're working on cutting on a line in a sustained cut. Now this is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I would suggest actually starting them with just half of that. But so again, hand is still. Assistive hand is the one that's moving. Thumbs are up. I'm moving the paper into the scissors. And now they are cutting and opening, but not pulling back, okay? A lot of kids like to pull back. And then this hand is pulling the paper. Squeeze and open, squeeze and open. Remember the left hand, which is my non-dominant hand. So the non-dominant hand is moving the paper. The scissors hand is just opening and closing the scissors and staying planted on the table. See how that works? Okay. So now a couple things to work with on cutting out shapes. Okay. So again, hand planted on the table, hold the paper with the non-dominant hand, thumbs are up. All right. You want them to start cutting furthest away from the assistive hand. So in other words, they're not cutting this way. They're going to cut starting this way. The reason they do that is they can see more of the line. Because if they're cutting this way, the scissors occludes the line that they're cutting on. So again, hand is planted. They're opening and closing the scissors with their dominant hand, and they're moving the paper with their non-dominant hand and cut to the edge. Some kids like to cut corners, so you can draw a little circle at the corner, so they stop at the circle and then get to the corner and rotate the paper. So that this assistive hand is still furthest away from the scissors. And they do the same thing throughout the shape. Okay, turn and turn. Okay, I actually forgot to keep my treasure in my hand. Now, curves are harder. Curves are harder. Okay, a lot of kids want to be choppy. So again, hand on table, assistive hand holds the paper, thumbs are up on both hands. They're going to cut away from the assistive hand. So they're not going to cut this way. Okay, have them cut this way. A lot of kids have a hard time knowing where to start on a circle. So you can actually give them a little line to start with. Okay. So it gives them that place to start. And they just cut. Now, again, the scissors hand is staying still, and it's the assistive hand, and you can give a little hand over hand to help them cut slow and curve with that hand. And have them reposition frequently. Curve. See how I'm moving the paper with my assistive hand. I'm not turning my arm with the scissors. Okay. Something that you can do to help with more smooth control of the scissors, because sometimes thin paper is hard. Okay. You can actually, I'm not going to use this spiral, but the spiral is a good way to help them practice cutting curves. But you can actually fold over a piece of paper a couple times, make it thicker, or have them cut on index cards or cardstock. And the thicker the paper, the more resistance is needed to cut, which helps increase their endurance. But it also helps them to slow down and cut those curves a little bit better. You can actually hear the difference. And it helps them slow down to make the cuts less choppy, okay? So hopefully this video has helped you learn some ways that you can help your students use their scissors effectively so that they can become superstars of cutting.